Hello YouTube, this is Charlie426, and today we have the review of the P-Bandai exclusive Masquerade Gundam AGE-1 full Glansa. Now once again, I believe there has been a few reviews out there already. Now the reason why I received mine a little bit late is that if I remember correctly on my pre-orders, the one I purchased is the second batch. So what happened is that there was a pre-order for the full age, the Masquerade Gundam AGE full Glansa. It went out pretty fast, and after a few days later they announced another second batch of pre-orders in Korea, or at least in my country. So which is why I got the second batch, because once again I did miss a few pre-orders, you know, because I was at work and there was a meeting, so there's no way I could have, you know, pre-ordered on time. So which is why mine came a little bit late than usual. And there's also the factor where, you know, I had the issue where in Korea, Gundam Base Korea had to move their logistics, you know, a center to a different area, so which is why they had to delay a lot of pre-orders as well. So it's either one of those or just both of those, but once again there were a few aspects that did make me get this kit late. Anyway, so let's get on to the review. So once again, this review will be somewhat simplistic, so I won't be going over the articulation of the Gundam AGE-1 because once again it's mostly the same kit. There were small changes which I will mention, but I don't think they're like huge changes to the point where it's a game changer, so on the kit itself. So that is a part I'm not going to be too focused on as well. So once again, another thing I should mention is that this version I have, if you've seen the title of the video, it's also kind of mentioned as the Desginers Color version. So when they announced this kit, there were two options. You can either buy just the expansion pack, which means you get the backpack and the armor pieces only, or you could buy the entire set, which comes in the Desginers Color version. What I mean is that well, the outer parts I don't think they should matter, but once again the Gundam AGE-1 flat, because there's no age system in there anymore, because the time when the Gundam AGE full Glansa was being in use, the age system was already moved on to age 3. So yeah, or looking at AGE-1 flat itself, the age system was already moved to age 2. So whatever. So the biggest difference regarding the Desginers Color version is well, as you may know from the title, is the color. So if you see the color itself, it's a really mellow and mild color scheme compared to the very bright color. So what I mean by that, I don't have I left the original AGE-1 normal at my parents' house, but once again, if you compare those two, you will definitely notice the color scheme. Like for example, the feet on red are much more of a mellow color compared to the very bright, strong red color that we see in most Gunpla kits, like in the RX-78 or just from the original. The blue and yellow, they're all like toned down colors going on, so it doesn't give out that like bright color feel going on there as well. And another part which I'll be explaining in the leftover parts is that like the V-fin also had some changes. It's not like a huge change, but once again it was very interesting to see those kind of changes. Alright, so there's a lot of stuff here, so let's go over the parts, what you get first, and then we'll go over the leftover parts, because I have barely any space left on my shelf here to show everything here. So let's get rid of the big stuff and the typical stuff. So number one, what you're supposed to get, of course, is obviously the Gundam AGE-1 flat. Now the build is exactly the same. They do give you parts to make the actual AGE-1 with the age system, although there is one slight issue regarding that, but I'll get into that later. But yeah, so for now, the Gundam AGE-1 is the Gundam AGE-1 flat version, which basically is Gundam AGE-1 without the age system. So which is why you see a white piece on the chest area. And hand-wise, you get the fist hands, you get the open style hands. We've seen these before. You get the trigger finger hands as well, and we get the multi-purpose hands, which are meant for holding, grabbing, and any other equipment as well. And once again, they do give you the shield, because, you know, the Gundam AGE-1 flat is in there, and the Gundam AGE-1 flat does use these parts, so you do get the original shield. No big changes here. You do get the DOTS rifle as well. One of the only changes would be the clear parts. Now, originally, Gundam AGE-1 would have the green clear parts. This one, they give you the yellow versions as well. Now, despite this, they do give you stickers for that to cover up. But once again, I do always find that to be a waste to be, you know, putting stickers on a clear piece, which is why I did not use those. So that's that. Now for the stickers, now they're for the Gundam AGE-1 normal, it's always been a little bit confusing for me. But basically, they do give you two options. You either use the typical stickers, or you use these on the back side of the clear pieces, and then I believe you have to color a few parts yourself, like the black areas, to give it a more shine effect here as well. So a little bit odd, but yeah, that's one of the options they have. So these are one of those stickers where when you take it out, the other side is also the shiny part as well. And then once again, those interesting black stickers for the knee area still exist once again. And let's see, okay, so that was basically it for the basic parts. I would like to also mention that this kit does give you a whole master grade or 1/200 scale action base as well. So yeah, pretty good deal and pretty good set. And you will be needing the action base, which is why I think there was a really good a good choice to give that out. All right, so let's talk about the Glansa parts first, the armor parts. So once again, you have to know the difference between the Glansa and then full Glansa. The Glansa is basically Gundam AGE-1 flat with the armor parts. Full Glansa is basically with the armor parts and the backpack. So that's a small difference. But once again, in the series, they do make they do kind of treat them differently. But still, let's see what we got. So number one, here we have the chest piece. Nothing too special here. I'm still kind of curious how this actually sticks onto the chest, but it sticks on very well to the point where when I'm trying to take this out, it actually pulls out the chest armor pieces out as well, which is a slight problematic, but still, yeah, nothing too special here. This part is a separate piece, so I believe these are one of the just a small aspect that that helps connect the part as well. So that's that for the chest piece. Here we have the shoulder armor pieces. Now the way how you attach that is you separate these and then you separate these two parts, and I believe from there you should get the idea how you connect them as well. So that's the way how that works. And then they do open up, these sections do open up to reveal the missile launchers as well, or small grenade launchers. So yeah, the Gundam AGE-1 full Glansa, the armor parts do there are a few parts that actually has these parts as well. So the shoulders are one of them, and the other ones are in the knees, which I'll get into right now. So this is the leg armor. So you're supposed to basically separate these two front and back, and then so originally you're supposed to connect these two side parts first, and then you lock them up by front and back like that. So that's the way how they work. And then one of the grenade launchers or missile launchers I was talking about is in here. So you can see there is a huge one as well. So that is, the white part is a separate piece, and it goes all the way downward. So it's a very long piece as well. And then once again, we do have the armor parts for the front skirt and back skirt. Now once again, they're not too easy to take off, but it's possible to take them off. And then here we have the shield rifles, which is one of my favorite weapons out there in the series as well, because this works as a shield, literally a shield, a close combat weapon, like with these blades. Well, not blades, but you get the idea. And then from here, they actually fire the Dodge rifle, and it can also work as a beam saber. So both long range and close range is all covered up with this weapon and defense. So I would say it's one of the most perfect weapons out there. So once again, you get two of these as well. Now, because of these weapons, you might get the wrong idea, but the Gundam AGE full Glansa doesn't actually have any wrist armor. These actually just get slapped onto the arms as well. All right. Oops, sorry about that. And then here, let's talk about the backpack. Let me get this guy out of the way. So here we have the backpack. So the backpack, there are two modes, and they do give you a stand for the backpack, which although it is an interesting connection point. But yeah, here we have the backpack. The wings do move up and down a little bit, and then we have these parts that can move forward and backward like that. And this part itself is connected as a ball joint, so moving side to side, rotating should be no problem as well. And there is a handle here for obvious reasons. Now from here you have to choose. So if you want to keep the AGE-1 flat mode, then you're going to make the Z-fold launcher, which is basically like a grenade or some sort of a launcher. Even in the series, it was very vague, like to me, which like what this thing was firing at the time. But still, the way how this works, this is the Z-fold launcher. If you connect these here, I believe you have to put it the other way around. And there you go, you have this, and you can open this section up to reveal a giant missile launcher, or missile. Yeah, that's actually inside there. So yeah, and I'm still not sure how this works, but there was no like complex gimmick here, but these two white parts move together, which was kind of surprising, but still pretty fun to do it as well. So that's that. But if you're going with the full Glansa, this is the one you attach here. So this is the part you attach. Once again, yeah, it does take some time to get used to how these parts connect, but once you get the hang of it, there's no problem. And this is the part, yeah, this is basically, this is a giant dots cannon. Let's think of it that way, and you can slightly pull this out to, you know, to open up these sections just a little bit. So I say that was a pretty good effect and pretty, you know, pretty fun as well, now, because this is one of those small details that weren't really present in the HD version. All right, so we've seen the armor parts. Let's go over the leftover parts as well. So yeah, usually these premium Bandai kits most of the time are usually eaten up by the parts. Alright, so let's talk about the parts. And another thing I forgot to mention, being a premium Bandai Master Grade kit, you do get water slides for those who are very fond of these. Just wanted to point that out. Alright, so let me take the ones that are still on the plates here, and you do get the beam effect parts here. So these will work both as beam saber effect parts and the dots rifle effect part for the shield, for the shield rifles as well. And you still get the short parts as well. And then, yeah, let me just take some parts out and let's see what we got that are still left on the plate. So what I first meant when you can still make the original Gundam AGE-1 normal, it is possible. Problem is the age systems and the clear parts here, they're all yellow. So yeah, that's going to be a part that is a little bit tricky. So, but still, if you want to have a yellow Gundam AGE-1, be my guest. And regarding not only the chest piece, I guess I should mention, when the Gundam AGE-1 becomes the Gundam AGE-1 flat, instead of the typical green system, like the green color where the Gundam Age system has, they all change yellow here. So yeah, that's another aspect that you're going to have to deal with. So just wanted to point that out. Alright, and now a little bit of an interesting part, but let's leave those for now. And then here we have some leftover polycaps, not many left. This is actually one of the few cases where they almost use every single polycap here, but still pretty good. And the parts I cut off, number one, there are these two parts. There are these two parts that are from the action-based parts. So these are mostly for connectors, adapters, some cover-up pieces as well. So there's 3 of those, nothing too special there. Now, because of the backpack, they do give you a different piece for the thrusters that are on the back section here. The only difference is that I would have to say is that there's more space in the thrusters, while comparing with the original, there's not much space in there. So it's a much more deeper version of this one. So just yeah, a small change there. Now they do give you another plate that has a similar piece like this. Now I didn't really compare these, but there was more parts like this, and I don't think there's like huge differences. There could be like a small millimeter like diameter change, which is barely naked to the eye, but who knows. That was just some kind of interesting part that I found odd. And then here are also the leg part joints as well. Once again, I actually did compare these one-to-one, and they were practically the same, so kind of odd. But still, that is pretty much it for the parts. And here are the parts I would like to mention. So we do get, so I believe, yeah, so yeah, this one is the original Gundam AGE-1 V-fin as well. And once again, another odd part is that they do give you these pilot figurines, but in the building process, they don't actually tell you to put these in. Now, granted, for the Gundam AGE-1, this is still the original Young Flint, the young character version, so obviously you would need a different molding, but I guess they didn't really make that figure for this one. But still, yeah, so mine is currently empty on the inside, so they do give, but if you want to use these, you can do that as well. And here is the original V-fin for the Gundam AGE-1, and they do give you 2 sets. You're only going to be using 1. Here is the new version, which I find a little bit odd, and here's the cover leftover piece for the chest area. So if you compare these two, they are almost the same size, and one of the few differences that are the gate placement. So the connecting part here, so the one on the original is on the bottom section here, and then this one, the connecting points are on the bottom. So if you compare these two directly in shape, which is actually, they may look exactly the same, but the new one here is actually pointing a little bit upwards a little bit more. Now it's very difficult to see, but there is like minor differences in terms of shape and design. So I thought this was a very interesting, you know, change and look. But once again, considering that this is the Desginers Color version, maybe they wanted to, you know, implement a few changes there in terms of design. So once again, mine is currently using the new V-fin. But once again, if I didn't mention that, I don't think many people would have noticed as well. So I guess it gives it a much more sharper look. Maybe that's just my guess. All right, so once again, I'm not going to go over the articulation of the Gundam AGE-1 flat because it is practically exactly the same articulation as the previous Gundam AGE-1. The only differences would be the overall color because of the designer's colors, the backpack's thrusters, and then without the lack of the age system and the color of the eyes. So once again, I'll be right back with the first demonstration, which is going to be the Gundam AGE-1 flat. So, and with the Z-Fold launcher. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So here we have the AGE-1 flat with the Z-Fold launcher. So here we have the backpack connected onto the back directly, and we are currently using the action base. Now getting into like matching the arms, hands, and everything, the launcher in position is going to be slightly tricky. It took me like about what 2 to 3 minutes to match all the locations on the hands. Mostly just getting the hands wrapping around the handle is going to be a little bit tricky, and then the second part that's going to be tricky is just making the launchers face forward. But once again, once you get it, it shouldn't be too difficult as well. So currently I'm using the action base. Now looking at the launcher itself, they're pretty much straightforward as I mentioned before, and if you want to, you can pull out these as well. So you might be wondering how is the backpack with backpack connection on without the action base. Now I would say it would really depend on the situation here. So let me just detach this and see what we got. So let's see, we need to without the action base and without the action base and making it stand with the backpack on with the Z-Fold launchers facing forward, I would say this is considered it's possible. Sure, you do need to balance a few things out, but still it's not impossible to make it stand on its own. Now that is something I know some people consider very important, and you might be wondering how is it when the backpack is when it's all folded up backwards. So let me just take off the hands, and with the backpack, now I like the HG version. I do remember for the HG version, I really loved it. And what I did was that I kind of used the backpacks as a stand. And so without in this form, without anything else, it is possible to stand on its own. But keep in mind, the thing is that these Z-Fold launchers are also kind of working as their own stand at the same time. So which is possible. But once again, another way that the manual kind of suggests is that you use this part here. You're supposed to slide it in here, I believe so. Come on. Yeah, you have to slide it in here. Slide that, and this works as another action base or a base so that it doesn't fall on its own. So with this, you can kind of secure a more, stable stance if you want to do so. So yeah, that is possible. All right, so we've seen the Gundam AGE flat with the Z-Fold launcher. I'll be right back with the Glansa armor as well. Okay, I'm back. So here we have the final demonstration here. So we have the full Glansa version at the moment. So if you want to just have the Glansa version, just take off the backpack and you're good to go. So once again, the armor attachment is pretty much straightforward. The only part that could get tricky, in my opinion, would be the front skirt and back skirt, because not because they're hard to attach, it's just that, in the long run when you're moving or touching the kit around, you might accidentally, detach the front skirts, because when I mean by detach, I'm not saying they're gonna fall down. It's just that the way how the connection is. So there is this small peg on the yellow that connects this yellow part and the lower skirt part as well. The front parts are okay. It's just the back parts that might get messy in the long run because there's just so much moving parts. There's a lot of areas that you need to touch around. So yeah, so make sure you either are using the action base or the backpack stance over there so that you don't make it unstable and make it all wobbly going on here. So once again, everything works very well. As I mentioned before, you can connect the beam saber effect parts to the shield rifle, and they work extremely well at the same time. So once again, for those who enjoyed the HG version of this kit, you're going to enjoy this kit even more as well. Now the only part that was annoying was to matching the hands, the arms, and the cannon with the handle popping out. So holding the cannons here with the dedicated handle here is the only tricky part, but other than that, everything should work fine. And even this series, I believe there was a scene where he didn't really even use the handles. He was able to just move these cannons on their own and fire them. So either way, it works pretty fine, and I absolutely love the way how this looks. because the Gundam AGE-1 full Glansa is also technically one of my favorite Gundam mobile suits out there as well. Anyway, thank you for watching the review. This was the review of the Premium Bandai exclusive Master Grade Gundam AGE-1 full Glansa Desginers Colors version. If you guys got any questions or requests, leave a comment below. I still have more stuff to buy and build and make reviews of, so please stay tuned. Until then, see you guys next time.